For 40 long days, the government in the United States was closed. This meant many parts of the government stopped working. Offices were empty, and important services slowed down or completely stopped. Millions of people across the country felt the direct impact of this shutdown. Federal workers did not receive their paychecks, making it hard for them to pay for basic needs like food and rent. Many families faced deep financial worry. The problems went beyond government employees. Important programs that help all Americans, such as airport security checks and food assistance for families in need, faced serious trouble. The country was in a very difficult situation, close to a major crisis. Everyone wanted to know when this unprecedented closure would finally end. There was great uncertainty and concern everywhere. The reason for this long shutdown was a big political disagreement. Different parties could not agree on key issues like government spending and new laws. This deadlock meant no new money bills could pass to keep the government running. For weeks, leaders in Washington, D.C. struggled to find a way forward, but without success. Then, on Sunday, November 9, 2025, there was important news. A small group of senators from different political parties came together. These leaders included Senator Jean Shaheen and Senator Maggie Hassan, as well as Independent Senator Angus King. After many talks, they announced they had reached a new, temporary plan. This plan was an agreement between both Democrats and Republicans. This new deal offered hope to finally end the longest government shutdown in American history. It aimed to reopen federal operations and bring back important services. People across the nation now waited to see if this agreement would truly work and solve the big problems the shutdown had caused. 2. The deal on the table. After 40 long days, a new agreement was ready. This deal was important. It aimed to open the government again, but it was not a full solution. It was a temporary fix for a big problem that had stopped many government services. The agreement said that the federal government would get money until January 30, 2026. This date was chosen to give leaders more time to agree on a full budget. However, it also meant that the problem of funding could come back early next year. Leaders would need to talk again and find a new solution before that date. If they failed, another shutdown could happen. Some parts of the government received money for a longer time. These were important departments that help many people. For example, the Department of Agriculture got money for the full fiscal year 2026. This full funding helps farmers across the country and makes sure food programs can continue without problems or interruptions. Also, the Department of Veterans Affairs received money for the whole year. This was very good news for veterans who have served the United States. They would continue to get the help and medical services they need. The legislative branch, which includes the Senate and the House of Representatives, also got full-year funding. This allowed Congress to operate normally. However, most other parts of the government received money only for a short time. They would get funding through what is called a continuing resolution. This means they would keep spending at their current levels until January 30, 2026. This shorter funding period meant that many federal agencies would not be able to start big new projects. They would just keep existing operations running. This method is common when a full budget cannot be agreed upon. The deal was a way to stop the shutdown immediately and bring some calm. It brought some stability back to the country for a few months. But everyone knew it was only a temporary agreement. The leaders made this deal to end the crisis now, but they still had big, difficult decisions to make later. The date of January 30, 2026 became a new important date on the calendar. It was a time when the government could face similar problems again if a full, long-term budget deal was not made. This showed that the big disagreements were still there, just put on hold. 3. Big problems and big promises. The New Deal brings important help for many people. It means full money will go to the food stamp program known as SNAP. This program helps 42 million Americans get food. Before this deal, many low-income families were worried. The Trump administration had ordered states to give only some of the food stamp money. This caused much uncertainty for those who needed the help to buy food. The new agreement makes sure that these families will get full support for their food needs until late in 2026. The agreement also helps many government workers. During the shutdown, about 1.4 million federal workers faced hard times. Some were told they might lose their jobs forever. These were called reduction in force notices, which were unusual during a shutdown. But the New Deal protects these workers. It says that all federal workers who got layoff notices will get their jobs back. They will also get all the money they did not receive during the shutdown. This part of the deal stops mass layoffs of federal workers until January 30, 2026. However, a big problem remains. The deal does not solve the issue of healthcare costs right now. For many weeks, leaders argued about help for the Affordable Care Act, ACA. These special credits help millions of Americans pay for their health insurance. Without them, people's insurance costs could become much higher, even doubling. The deal only promises a vote on these health care credits later. This vote will happen in the Senate by the middle of December. Democrats will choose which bill to vote on. But this promise does not mean the problem is fixed. Even if the Senate votes for the credits, it is not sure that they will pass. Also, the leader of the House of Representatives, Speaker Mike Johnson, has not said he will allow the House to vote on it. This means millions of people are still uncertain about their health care costs. The agreement gives relief in some areas, but for health care, it is only a promise for the future, not a clear solution today. 4. The long road to a law. Turning the new agreement into a law is a long and hard process. Many steps must happen before the government can open again after the 40-day shutdown. Each step needs careful votes and agreement from different groups of leaders. This means the path from a deal to a working government is still full of challenges. First, the Senate needs to vote on the deal. Senators plan to start this voting process on Sunday evening. For the agreement to pass in the Senate, it needs at least 60 votes. A group of 8 Democratic senators had already said they would support the deal, likely enough for passage. However, passing it quickly is not certain. Some senators could use special rules to slow down the voting process. If they do, this might make it take longer, perhaps beyond Sunday, further delaying the government reopening. After the Senate passes the deal, it moves to the House of Representatives. The House must also vote and approve the agreement before it can become law. The House has been closed during the shutdown, so its members will need to travel back to Washington, D.C. House Speaker Mike Johnson has stated he would give members at least 48 hours' notice before calling them back for a vote. This timeline means the House vote would not happen immediately, adding more days to the wait. Getting the House to agree might be especially difficult. House leaders have not fully supported the Senate's tentative deal. House Speaker Mike Johnson, for example, has not promised to support the agreement or even allow votes on all parts of it. He specifically stated he could not guarantee the House would consider the promise for a future vote on health care help. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries also made it clear that House Democrats might not support the deal without guaranteed health care subsidies. This shows there could be significant problems passing the agreement in the House, even with Republican control. Getting enough votes will be a big challenge. Finally, if both the Senate and the House pass the agreement, it then goes to the President. President Donald Trump must sign the paper to make it a real law. Only after his signature can the federal government fully open its doors and resume normal operations. Because of all these necessary steps, potential delays, and uncertainty in the House, the government will not reopen immediately. The earliest it could happen is Tuesday or Wednesday of the following week. This quick reopening can only happen if every part of the process works smoothly and all votes pass without unexpected problems. This long and complicated path shows how hard it is to turn a plan into a law in the United States. 5. Why did they agree now? The agreement to end the government shutdown came at a special time. It happened right after important state elections in early November of 2025. On November 4 and 5, Democrats won several big elections. They had strong victories in places like New Jersey and Virginia. In California, a ballot measure they supported also won with clear public approval. These election results made the Democratic Party much stronger. Their leaders felt more confident in their position. They believed that these election wins, along with recent public opinion polls, showed that most Americans blamed the Republican Party for the long shutdown. This widespread belief gave Democrats more power in the ongoing talks. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer clearly stated his party's view. He said that Democrats had won the elections decisively. He added that Americans know Republicans are accountable for this terrible shutdown, which is now the longest in history. Even President Donald Trump understood the political costs. He told other Republican senators that the party was facing significant political damage. This admission from the president himself further increased the confidence of the Democratic negotiators. This new political situation created a chance for a compromise. The change in atmosphere pushed a small group of senators to act. Many people were feeling the impact of the 40-day shutdown, which also increased the pressure to find a solution. Around November 6, serious talks began. These discussions were led by moderate senators from both parties. They included both Democratic and Republican leaders who were trying to find a way to end the long shutdown. These talks became very intense over the next few days, especially during the weekend. This hard work led to the temporary agreement that was announced on November 9. The agreement came from a real need to stop the suffering caused by the shutdown, like disruptions in air travel and food assistance, which added to the urgency. It also came from the strong political pressure felt by both sides after the elections. The Democrats, feeling stronger after their wins, and Republicans, feeling the damage to their public image, both saw a clear reason to find a middle ground. The moderate senators played a key role. They worked hard to bridge the gaps between the two sides, helping them reach a deal at last. This showed how election results could shift the power in Washington and push leaders toward an agreement when the country needed it most. 6. Not everyone is happy. The new agreement was supposed to end the long government shutdown, but it did not make everyone happy. Instead, it caused many new arguments and disagreements among politicians. Leaders from both big political parties, Democrats and Republicans, found reasons to dislike important parts of the deal. This showed that reaching a true peace in Washington was still very far away. Many Democrats were very unhappy with the agreement. Important senators like Bernie Sanders from Vermont and Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts openly said the deal was not good enough. Senator Sanders even called it a political disaster for his party. Their main concern was about health care costs for everyday Americans. The agreement did not guarantee that money would continue to help people pay for their health insurance plans. These special payments, called Affordable Care Act Premium Tax Credits or subsidies, were scheduled to end soon, on December 31, 2025. Without them, millions of people could see their monthly health insurance payments get much higher, possibly even doubling for some families. The New Deal only promised a vote on these credits later in December, not an immediate solution. This made many Democrats angry because guaranteed help with health care was still not certain for people who needed it most. Senator Ben Gallego of Arizona also opposed the deal strongly, saying he would not abandon 24 million Americans who needed these credits to afford health care. These disagreements showed a deep split within the Democratic Party. Republicans also had problems with the agreement. Some members of the Republican Party were not happy with the deal. For example, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky said he might try to stop the bill from passing. He had concerns about specific parts of the agreement and warned he could make its passage very difficult. Other Republicans in the House of Representatives also expressed doubts. They wondered if the agreement was a strong enough solution to truly end the long shutdown and solve the country's problems. Their questions and concerns from both the Senate and the House could make it very hard for the deal to move forward and become a law. So, even though some leaders worked hard to find a compromise, many politicians still had strong doubts and criticisms. The arguments from both the Democratic and Republican sides showed that getting the government to reopen for good would still be a difficult task. The future of the agreement and the final end of the shutdown was not yet clear because not everyone was happy with the deal. This ongoing tension meant more fights were coming. 7. The cost of the shutdown. The government shutdown lasted for 40 long days. This time was very hard for many people across the country. More than 1 million federal workers did not receive their regular paychecks. This caused big problems for their families. Many found it difficult to pay for important things like their rent or mortgage for their homes. They also worried about buying enough food for their tables. The money they lost made life very stressful and created deep worries about their future. Some even faced the threat of losing their jobs permanently. The shutdown also affected people who were not government workers. Air travel became a major problem. The Federal Aviation Administration, which controls flights, had fewer staff members. Because of this, airlines had to cancel some flights. They reduced flights by 4 to 10% across the country. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy even warned that air traffic could slow to a trickle over the important Thanksgiving holiday in November 2025. This meant many people could not travel to see their families, causing sadness and disruption. Another serious issue was the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. This program provides food help to 42 million Americans. Many of these are very low-income families with children, elderly people, or those with disabilities. During the shutdown, these people did not get their full food benefits. The Trump administration had ordered states to distribute only partial benefits. This left millions of families unsure if they would have enough to eat. To help, states had to use emergency funds and send people to local food banks, which were often overwhelmed. The 40-day shutdown made many parts of life difficult and uncertain. It showed how much the government does for its citizens every day. When it stops, many important systems stop working well. From workers' ability to earn a living to ensuring food for vulnerable families and keeping air travel safe, the shutdown caused a lot of pain and worry. It was a clear reminder of the real and widespread costs when political leaders cannot find common ground. The negative effects were felt in almost every community and household across the nation. 8. What happens next? The deal brought some relief, but it is clear that the story is not over. This agreement is only for a short time. It will keep the government running until January 30, 2026. This means that a new deadline and a new possible shutdown will happen very soon. The country could face the same problems again early next year. One of the biggest issues that is still not truly fixed is help for healthcare costs. People who get health insurance through the Affordable Care Act might see their payments go up a lot. The deal says that senators will have a separate vote in December to decide on more money for these costs. But this vote does not promise that the money will be approved. What is more, House Speaker Mike Johnson has not promised that the House of Representatives will even vote on this important matter. So, many people are still worried about paying for their doctors and medicines in the coming year. For the government to fully reopen and the deal to become law, several steps must happen. First, the Senate needs to vote yes. Then, the House of Representatives must also vote yes. Finally, President Donald Trump must sign the agreement. If all these steps go well, government offices could open again in a few days, and federal workers will get their pay. The deal does protect federal workers from losing their jobs and gives them their back pay. It also fully funds food stamps for many Americans for the rest of the year. These are important helps for many families. However, this agreement does not solve the main problems that caused the shutdown. Leaders still disagree on how much money the government should spend and what is most important for the country. These big arguments are just put aside until January. The constant cycle of temporary fixes shows how hard it is for leaders to work together to find lasting solutions. The people of the country need stable government services and clear plans for the future. But this deal only gives a short break from the fighting. It sets up another possible big conflict early next year, leaving many important questions about the country's money and its services. Do you think this deal was a good compromise, or should the senators have kept fighting for more?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.